In 2008, the infamous Crashgate took place, an incident that still has repercussions on Formula 1 today. So let's have a recap of what exactly Crashgate was all about, why it took place, who the protagonists were, and why it means anything at all in the modern F1 environment. I'm Ollie Wilson for GPFans. Remember GPFans.com and GPFans Global for all of the latest news and views in the world of Formula 1. But this is what was Crashgate. Pushing the limits and endlessly studying the regulations, looking for loopholes, is a daily occurrence in Formula 1. But there is a difference between operating on the edge and simply cheating, or just completely cheating. The latter was the case with the scandal called Crashgate, a scandal that took place on Sunday, September 28th in 2008, surrounding the Renault F1 team, and it's now had a very long aftermath after that Grand Prix in Singapore. Recently, a new chapter has even been added. Felipe Massa believes that he should have become world champion in 2008 in the Ferrari instead of Lewis Hamilton in the McLaren, and it all stems down to the Singapore Grand Prix that year. During the Singapore Grand Prix in 2008, Brazilian Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed his Renault R28 into the wall at turn 17. A safety car had to come onto the track to recover Piquet's car, bringing the field bunched back together. Fernando Alonso, Piquet's teammate, was on his way to the pit lane at the time to pick up a new set of tyres. Because the field is pretty much neutralised during a safety car and has to maintain a certain pace, the Spanish driver managed to gain a number of places while making his pit stop, something that would ultimately give him victory at the end of the Grand Prix. At first, it seemed like a case of one man's trash is another man's treasure. Although Piquet is an illustrious name in the sport, he is of course the son of former world champion Nelson Piquet. He was not exactly a high flyer in F1 at that time. It was therefore not really surprising that he ended up in the wall in Singapore in a somewhat strange way, with many putting the incident down to user error. The fact that his teammate managed to take advantage of this seemed like a stroke of dumb luck, with drivers benefiting from safety cars every other week. However, that couldn't be further from the truth. Shortly after Piquet was fired by Renault in 2009, it became known that the Federación Internacional del Automóvil, the FIA, had started an investigation into the conduct of the Singapore Grand Prix based on a statement from Piquet himself. The statement revealed that Piquet had not accidentally ended up in the wall at all. He was encouraged to do this by his team boss Flavio Briatore and technical director Pat Symonds. Now, the two reportedly wanted to give Alonso an advantage on track. At the time, the Brazilian couldn't keep up with the pace of the two-time world champion and teammate and feared for his position within the team. So, Piquet succumbed to the pressure from his team bosses and agreed to the request to crash his car. Not much later, in 2009, Piquet was let go by Renault, after which he decided to quit F1 completely. In his own words, it was because his sporting heart was too heavy to continue carrying such a secret. You can imagine that this revelation sent a tornado of controversy through Formula 1. Renault's F1 team was summoned to the FIA, and Briatore and Symonds were kind of put through their paces a little. They were seen by the motorsport's governing body as the masterminds behind the scandal and ultimately received a hefty penalty. Briatore was given a lifetime ban by the FIA Executive Council on September 21st, 2009 for his part in the scandal. Symonds was punished with an expulsion from F1 for a period of 5 years. The Renault team as a whole also faced a 2-year ban. Fortunately for Renault, the 2-year ban didn't stick. The punishment for the team was changed, ordering the French constructor to not commit any other similar crimes for the next 5 years in the sport, otherwise the team would be permanently excluded from F1. It all ended with a fizzle for Renault, but that did not mean that it didn't have a major impact on the organisation. Main sponsors ING decided to cut ties with the team, and the departure of Briatore, who was a very successful man at Benetton and Renault, sent the team kind of spiralling off track. In a rather strange twist to this tale, the two main protagonists of Simmons and Briatore in this bizarre story also got away with the equivalent of a rap on the knuckles. On January 5th, 2010, a French judge cancelled the suspension of Briatore and Simmons. The duo even received compensation of 15,000 and 5,000 euros respectively. However, the FIA agreed with Briatore and Simmons that they were not allowed to take an active role in Formula 1 until 2013. Since then, Briatore's not exactly been a welcome guest in the paddock, although he has popped up on the grid from time to time, spotted on grid walks and the like. However, he hasn't ventured back to the pit wall in an active capacity. Simmons did, however. He even became technical director at Williams in 2013. Today, he plays the role of the chief technical officer within Formula 1 itself. Amazingly, this story doesn't exactly end there, with the recent news that Felipe Massa is looking to take legal action against Formula 1 and the FIA, with the former Ferrari driver believing that Crashgate and the eventual cover-up of Crashgate cost him the Drivers' World Championship that year. Massa argues that he lost his position at the front of the race that evening in Singapore because of the actions of Piquet and the Renault team. Recently, former F1 CEO Bernie Ecclestone revealed that both he and former FIA President Max Mosley both knew at the time of the implications of Crashgate, but failed to act on it in the moment to save F1 from an embarrassing scandal that would hit the public eye, with the pair not suspecting really that Piquet would spill the beans a few years later. Had Formula 1 and the FIA acted at the time in 2008, the result of the Grand Prix in Singapore could have been very different, especially as Massa had lost out on vital points due to the safety car being triggered by the crash. With Massa losing the Drivers' Championship that year to Lewis Hamilton by a single point, the result of the race in Singapore potentially cost the Brazilian driver his chance at eternal glory as a Drivers' World Champion and the additional income and praise that comes with that. So, will Felipe Massa be successful in his legal challenge against Formula 1 and the FIA? And if he is successful, should the result of the 2008 championship be changed to the former Scuderia driver being the world champion that year? We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section below on all of this. GPFans.com and GPFans Global for all of the latest racing news in the world of Formula 1. Hit subscribe down below to stick with us here at the YouTube channel with our specials and of course all the main talking points in F1.